At NTV.
We're glad you're still with us here on Morning at NTV. For those that are just joining us, welcome on board. It's time for Take Note, and we shall be looking at using artificial intelligence in transforming emerging economies. I have an interesting guest we shall be speaking to help us understand what AI is and what exactly technology can do in terms of transforming our economies, but also our social life. But first, let me share a preamble about the rapid advance of artificial intelligence that has captivated the world, causing both excitement and, in some circles, alarm, as well as raising important questions about its potential impact on the global economy. The net effect is difficult to foresee, as AI will ripple through economies in what's being described as complex ways. Historically, automation and information technology have tended to affect routine tasks, but one of the things that sets AI apart is the ability to impact high-skilled jobs. Often breathless debate around AI can leave investors bewildered as to what this emerging technology will actually mean for the global economy as well as the markets. Today, we are looking at its importance and how it can be used in transforming economies. And to walk us through what is no doubt a very interesting topic is Barbara Mutabaazi, founder, Women in Technology Uganda and Hive Colab. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
Excited to be here. I'm good.
Great. The preamble has pretty much set the tone for much of what AI can do, but within the context of Africa, before we even understand exactly how technology can transform our economies, our lives, AI itself has seemed to topple us, so to speak. I must be very candid and honest about the fact that I've also struggled to embrace technology in some aspects of my work many times, and before I got to terms with everything else, I was told AI is coming and this one is going to do wonders, and I was like, all right, I hope it doesn't take me off the morning show.
No, it will not.
All right, so what's this whole AI thing?
So artificial intelligence has been around for a long time. It's not new. Machine learning and artificial intelligence, data science has been around. But it is evolving. Just like with technology, it's always evolving. We don't know what it will be tomorrow. In November 2022, our organization launched what they called ChatGPT. And that's when everyone seemed to be waking up and asking themselves, what is this artificial intelligence thing? But it is beyond that. So in, let's say, narrow AI is even the camera systems that we have on our streets that are able to detect a face and use a database somewhere that has your national ID and be able to know that that's Barbara. That is narrow AI that has always been there. But now, with scientists training data science and models to do more, there is now what we call generative AI, for example, where I don't know whether you've seen these images of, let's say, the Pope wearing chains and being like a gangster. That is all AI.
Generative.
And exactly, generative AI, where you can use it to create images and just say, make President Obama a woman with pink hair and all that, and it will create for you an image that actually looks like that. And so there is beauty in that and also danger in that. But beyond that, right now, for example, in universities abroad, let's say Harvard and MIT, ChatGPT or AI is being used to even help people find jobs, refine your CV, or let's say you see a job opportunity that you're interested in, you just get that job description of that, put it in this model, get your CV, plug it in that model and ask it, do I qualify for this job? Write for me a cover letter and rephrase my CV in such a way that it responds and makes me look good for this job.
That's right.
That is all AI. And so someone will present papers or even reports. For example, Deloitte in the UK or in Europe has just launched their own ChatGPT or AI model that is allowing their staff to use this AI to develop reports, to make create emails and all that. So it is taking over the simple tasks that we were doing, and now it's all being done by technology. Wow,
that's very interesting. You spoke about the fact that it could be used for good, but also for the bad. We shall be going into the bad a little bit later, but with regard to improving things, the speed is a little bit too much for some people, and it could impact on productivity at the end of the day, because if somebody who doesn't have the skills to do something is able to ask ChatGPT to do it for them, then there's a problem there, because at the end of the day, not on every task after you've presented the CV and the reports will require ChatGPT, GPT, and there is the problem. How will people transition after being helped by this AI to actually do the job after?
I think you need to have a bit of knowledge about what you're talking about. You're absolutely right. It is very possible for me to have absolutely no idea about a topic. Go to ChatGPT and ask it to write for me a beautiful report and present it to you. And then when I come before you and you're asking me things that are even in my own report and I can't talk about them. So that's a danger in there that as human beings we need to be very careful about. But it can also be used to enhance what you already know. So for example, if you're trying to write an email to your boss to ask for a salary advance and you want it to sound professional but also not too pushy and just the right amount of it, right? So you're going to write your initial text and say, hi, I've worked here for X number of years, I've diligently served, blah, 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 and all that. But you don't feel it's right. Ask ChatGPT, how does this sound to a reader? And it will tell you, oh, it sounds aggressive. And you say, okay, make it sound more professional, but also not too aggressive. And it will do that for you. That way, it is your knowledge that ChatGPT is just helping you put it in the language that will sound better. So there is a danger in that, but as human beings, that's why we need to be careful not to use it. But also as policy makers, or let's say in an education institution, what policies, for example, is Makerere going to put in place to ensure that students are not just plagiarizing or using that?
That is right. Plagiarism can be put aside, but for example, a lecturer who is marking exams and has no idea about the fact that a student could have used AI to be able to generate some of the answers that they've come up with, might be mesmerized and like, oh wow, this student A plus, when actually the student used AI to help them, and that completely misrepresents the whole thing, and then a student gets away with a very rosy transcript when they're actually not smart.
That is why as teachers or institutions of education we need to be smarter. You need to create policies about the use of AI and be very clear about them. And then as lecturers or teachers, you also need to understand, for example, as a lecturer, if you send me this, I will plug it into ChatGPT, or I will just put the same question. And there's a way it can give you almost similar answers, or at least the wording will look similar. And as a teacher, you will know. So the teachers themselves need to be retaught on how students can use AI and manipulate it. So if you understand it, then the students won't be able to bypass you.
All right. Some of the developments across the world have had the International Monetary Fund come into this picture, developing what's been described as the AI Preparedness Index that measures readiness in areas such as digital infrastructure, human capital, labor market policies, innovation, and economic integration. Now, this is taking things to another level, but assessing the ability of digital business models in a country's legal framework and the presence of these strong governance enforcement mechanisms, how reliable is this? Because it looks like we need to find a whole ecosystem and realign it where the legal framework understands exactly what is being done, so that we don't fall into the pitfalls of technology. The other day, I must be very candid, somebody used AI to transpose my voice onto something else, an interview I had never done, and I seemed to be endorsing a certain Bitcoin arrangement that was a fraud. How is that? Is it within the legal framework in the country, for example, like Uganda? Are we using the AI preparedness index as provided by IMF?
No country is at that level yet, to be honest. We are all, as countries, figuring it out. Even the first world, even the US or the UK, it is, first of all, it's changing so much and so quickly that governments are also just learning. So they are relying on researchers, academics, and all that, even business people, to figure out how do we make sure that we use it for good and protect ourselves. Just like you said, anyone can do that. But under legal framework, we can create policies that can actually help. But also, what infrastructure are we putting in place to be able to detect this fraud? We have to be smarter. AI was created by humans. We are smarter than
the
AI.
Machines,
and so we can train models that are able to detect whether this is an AI generated voice or where it's authentic, even images and whatever it is that is being created. Of course, fraudsters are taking this and also using it. So we have access to the same information. The policymakers, the good people and the bad people. Everyone is using it at the same time. So you just have to be a step further. And what we can do is benchmark on countries that are adopting this much faster. How are they using it? What policies are they putting in place? And not just pick those policies and bring into our emerging economies, because it would never work, but refine those to the local context. Or for example, Uganda, how can we use that? But we also shouldn't shun it away, because I'm also seeing what we don't understand as humans, usually we say no, no, no to it. We shouldn't be doing that. We should be learning how can we use it for good and also protect the innocent citizen, because that is going to be a very key thing as we get more exposure to AI as countries.
Okay, related to that danger is the fact that it could actually trip us into thinking we need to transform at a quicker speed than we actually should be transforming ourselves, and that is the danger. The corporate world, when you are in boardrooms and some of these conferences, and speaker after speaker comes up and speaks with so much verve and energy about AI, and then immediately after that sitting or session, they go back to basic traditional technologies, and there is a disconnect. I don't know how the corporate world, whether there is any kind of collaboration between the Women in Technology Uganda and Hive Colab to help these players to actually walk the talk and not simply do the grandstanding, because when we speak AI, some people sound good, but after that, productivity levels are different.
Absolutely. I think all talk and no play is always going to happen. It's always going to be there. But I also don't feel like we should be rushing so much into copying and pasting just because company X, I don't know in which European country is doing it. We should also take it slowly by slowly, also looking at the quality of employee, let's say in the private sector. What's the quality of employee you have? Just because Deloitte Europe has put this AI
all over its
tool and providing it to employees, should you also say use this? Gauge your own employees. Are they at that point? And then provide it slowly. First of all, we need to teach people what it is and what it could do for them. So one, as Hive Colab and Women in Tech, one of the things that we are doing is using the simple one, looking at, okay, in the whole sphere of AI, what is useful for the local context right now? And one of the things you see is in terms of digital transformation, businesses since COVID are moving from traditional brick and mortar to trying to use AI.
That's right.
And it also reduces on the costs. So how can you, as a young woman who's, let's say, selling dresses, second-hand dresses, use AI for your business? Chatbots.
Wow.
Almost everyone is using WhatsApp, right? So how can you use a chatbot on WhatsApp to be able to sell your dresses? And how do you use that to be able to train a model and say, Barbara is 33 years, she works in this place, and be able to predict what kind of dresses, so that when I come to your virtual shop, you're only showing me dresses that you know fit my age, my budget, and also the type of workplace that I work in. So small business can use it in such a way to benefit them. And then in terms of our government, simple things. We don't have to adopt the type of AI that America is using right now. But for our government, what are the most pressing needs? One of them is lack of information among citizens. If I ask, even if you ask me what my rights are when it comes to, let's say, if I'm driving and I make an offense, I don't know my rights. The police guy is going to read for you, and whatever they tell you is what you're going to believe. So how do we get information, the right information, into the hands of people? Most people either have WhatsApp or they have a phone. How can we use AI to get this information that as a person, even using USSD, I will go on my phone and type whatever USSD number and say my rights on the road, and it should be able to bring me a menu where I can pick and say, okay, traffic offenses.
That's right.
If I don't have this, my permit on me, how long do I have before I'm requested to produce it? So such simple information. For example, we are working with NITA Uganda to be able to produce something like this.
I was just about to go into NITA because there is the aspect of data synchronization, the ability for you not to be required to bring about just all the other documents. Okay, we now have your birth certificate, but it seems like we need your LC1 later. Then you go back. Before you know it, they're telling you, I think we need your former employees later. You go look for your former employee, yet you've worked there. There should be a system that allows for all this data to flow seamlessly, and AI should be able to offer that.
And I think our government is actually doing a good job on that. For example, now when you go to apply for, let's say, a passport, it is already connected to your national ID. So already in a way, AI is helping Uganda do better at being able to protect its citizens. No one can now just go and say, I am Barbara, unless facial recognition can, using the picture that I provided, will be able to say, okay, that is Barbara. And then wherever you go, it will be the same information all through. If you go to NERA, if you go to the driving guys, if you go to the Ministry of Internal Affairs for a passport, it is the same information. We are not yet 100% there, but the government is doing a good job at adopting and helping us improve in such ways. And I believe that as that information is also made available to private sector, for example, the banking system, we should be seeing improvement even in that. Right now, for you have to get, let's say, open a bank account, you have to provide your national ID, you have to provide this information, you have to provide that. But as we go on, we should be able to use AI to simplify these processes. Just like you see at some airports nowadays, you just walk in, no one is going to touch your passport or anything. They will tell you to look into a camera, and then it will give you a tick.
That's right.
Because they've already they already have your data, and by just doing that with your face, they have already recognized and you can go. So we can use it in a way that is beneficial, and I see that Uganda is actually taking the right steps.
All right. Emerging economies, of course, are looking at transforming agricultural practices, and AI should be able to help in that. We shall be talking about that very shortly. But first, I want to find out the fusion of AI and quantum technologies in what's being referred to as AQ. What is that?
I have no idea.
That fusion of AI and quantum technologies, and how it should help this whole transition or revolutionize everything that comes with improvements in technology.
Like anything, we cannot live in a world of separation. We have to merge and learn how other countries, for example, are utilizing these technologies, and also be able to fuse the two. So in my thinking, when it comes to AI and quantum technologies, these are really good tools that as countries we can use to make our citizens' lives better, and also improve, like, for example, in agriculture, in health, in education, and all these other sectors.
Okay, very quickly, as we enter the final bend of this discussion, for agriculture purposes, can it help us understand that if I want to grow onions on a particular piece of land, this is the type, and these are the ingredients that I need, within this frame of time, I'll be able to harvest?
Absolutely. So with climate change, how can AI help us? In the past, we relied on seasons. You knew that between this month and this month, this is the planting. Right now, as you can see, we've had rain in times when we shouldn't be having rain. So how can AI use that? So it can predict how long the rains are going to be. But there's also changes in the soil. So how can we use AI or train these models to be able to say that for the type of pH in the soil now, this is the best type of crop to plant. But also even crops have different types. So for example, maize, there are so many varieties now. What is the best variety for you to plant? We can no longer rely on the traditional methods that we had long ago, that because my grandmother used to plant this kind of maize in this period, let me also do that.
And we can use AI
and simple AI that if you allow farmers, if we can build apps or models that are going to be able to help us detect that, we shall be able to help our farmers understand that, oh, because of climate change, this season is going to be this longer, so this is where when I need to plant my maize, either a little later or a little earlier, or this is the kind that I need to plant.
All right, thank you very much, Barbara Mutabaazi, founder Women in Technology Uganda and Hive Colab, for the perspectives that you have offered us in understanding AI and how best it can transform emerging economies. That will do it for this discussion, but stay with us. Kickstarter is coming up next, and the non-aligned movement is again going to be the topic. We are looking at the youth perspective and how employment models can be improved to ensure that the African boy and girl gets a job. Stay with us.